Hey guys, it's Elisa, and I'm going to be doing a request that I received on Instagram today. It's pretty long. It's all that. So I read very fast though, so I'm going to read it and hopefully I can help you. So it says, "Hey girl, I watch your YouTube videos and have been really needing advice lately." So the backstory to me and my ex's relationship. We are both in high school. We met when we were 15 and dated for a year and a half. We were each other's first everythings. His family became so in love with me, and I had the most beautiful relationship with his mom, and vice versa. I had never felt the way I do with him, and I know that we're young and have so much experience, but I don't doubt that we loved each other and still do. He broke things off 2 months ago because he was tired of fighting, and after we became at heads with each other because of lack of time spent with each other. We go to different schools, and he had joined a new sport on top of already having one, and it stressed us both out to never see each other, and we were constantly fighting about that. A week after we broke up, I brought him over stuff. He acted pretty stoic about the breakup, which made no sense because he was in love with me, always talking about the beautiful and great mother I'd make, and how he was sure he'd found the one. He planned on so many things with me. But we talked when I brought his stuff over despite him acting really off, but fine, and he basically said he still loved me, but that it was best, and he wasn't changing his mind. It's like he had to prove it to himself. Only a few days later, I found out that after I dropped his stuff off, he had a mental breakdown and ended up calling one of our mutual female friends and cried to her about how bad it hurt him to hurt me. There were about 2 different days since then that I truly did pour my heart out to him and beg, which I regret. But we've been in no contact now for about 6 weeks. I figured he'd reach out by now, but he hasn't. I feel like I'm reading like my messages from when I was younger. And in those days I begged, I told him how I knew how upset he was despite him not showing it. I knew how upset he was despite him not showing it, and it frustrated him, and he told me he felt pity for me. That's when I started no contact. But recently I've been hanging out with a lot of our mutual guy friends, and every time he finds out, he says super mean things to me. He says he regrets everything with me, and would even make jokes about insecurities he knew I had, but he said them directly to only friends he knew would tell me. The only other info I know is that he did unfollow me on everything pretty early on, so he doesn't know what I'm up to or anything, but one of my female friends told me how he goes to her for advice despite the ass he's being, and she thinks he would never say cruel things he tells his guy friends about me, and that she thinks he tries too hard to move on. Also, that she thinks he said those things out of jealousy and anger because I was with his friends. He texted her about it. I just really miss him. I bettered myself, and I don't really want him back anymore. Good for you. But I've taken the time to grow and try new things and meet new people, but something just makes me find my way back to him. I don't plan on reaching out, but what do you think? Do you think he'll come back? Or how do you think he is? He also is pretty much an introvert, never really leaves the house, doesn't have a lot of friends, can't really get any girls, which his guy friends also mentioned to me. I kind of feel like he really believed he would be able to move on and find someone new, but he hasn't found anyone, and our connection was so strong, especially since we lost our virginities to each other and had such a close friendship on top of it all. This message is 100% what I went through. When I was reading this, pretty much every single line, I was like, holy shit, this has happened to me. That's why I'm really happy that I'm doing this request, because like this is where it all started for me. This is how this account started. This is how my counseling program started. This is how all of it started, because I went through this same exact thing. We were together for just as long as you guys, all throughout high school. We were each other's first everythings. Our families loved each other. He broke up with me because, we were arguing a lot, needed space, whatever. After the breakup, he was saying things to his friends that weren't very nice. He started acting very immature. My friends told me it was just out of jealousy, it was just out of anger. Literally, this is my situation, and you're living through it. So I am 100% happy to tell you exactly, what's going on. Of course, not one size fits all. There's probably, differences within our stories, but for the most part, I've been in your shoes. Especially where you said, but something just makes me find my way back to him. So I've had a good amount of boyfriends, and all my exes and I were good friends. Like literally, like one of them, I'm texting them right now because we want to hang out later. Like I'm really good friends with all my exes. Like we hang out a lot. We talk on the phone. Like I have no like no spite against any of them except for the one that made me start this program. You know, I got out of a relationship, and it was just so traumatizing that I started this as a coping mechanism, and I wanted to help people. And like literally, I think I made my first video a couple weeks after the breakup, and he's the only ex-boyfriend that I have like problems with. And I know for a very long time I was in your shoes. Like every guy I would date after him, or every guy I would see after him, every time it would fail, it would always lead me back to him. Like I definitely know what you mean by that. Like that's just where your heart is at. And honestly, at your age, it's totally normal. Like it's totally normal because at this age we are being introduced to love for the first time. And well, I'm a couple years older than you, but like when I was your age I was going through this, so I understand. At this age we're being introduced to love for the first time, and it is a very addictive thing. You know, it makes us feel very powerful, very grown up. It makes us feel like we're really stepping into the real world and discovering us and discovering what we want and what we want to spend the rest of our lives loving. Like that's why it's so addicting, because it's a sense of freedom that we don't get from just like a world without dating. Like dating just does introduce you to excuse me, I just ate a peach, a whole new world. And you know, when you lose it, it's difficult because you're like, okay, what now? You know, we all have that like what now moment. So I completely understand. I definitely agree. The whole being mean thing, like him saying mean comments about you, I can confirm that is definitely out of like anger and out of jealousy, because my ex did the same thing to me. His friends would tell me, and they would just be like, oh no, but he's just really mad, blah blah blah. Like just because they say mean things and stuff means they're jealous. It doesn't mean that they want you back. It just means that they're kicking themselves for the decision that they made, even though they knew they made the right one. I know when my ex broke up with me, he made the right decision, or he thinks he made the right decision, but he still was kicking himself for a while because like we dated for so long, and when you date someone for that long and then you break up with them, you are responsible for everything that just happened. And it really puts a lot of pressure on them because they are the reason why it stopped. So if they ever have doubts, like, oh my god, did I do the right thing? They are responsible for that. Like, they take full credit for that. The victim, you have nothing to do with it. You didn't break up with him. He's the one who ended the relationship. He's the one who decided that you guys should see different people. He's the one who decided to break y'all's families apart from each other. He's the one who decided that y'all's thing needs to be to an end. That's a lot of pressure. That's why breaking up is always a lot of pressure. And sometimes under that pressure, people crack and people get mean. They start pointing out insecurities. They start calling you out on things. Sometimes they start playing dirty. My ex definitely did. So it's normal. It's definitely normal, and I wouldn't take it to heart. It just means that he has very strong feelings for you, and he did kick himself after the breakup, but that doesn't mean that he regrets it. I feel like every guy, whether they regret it or not, they always kick themselves for a while because they have the responsibility of ending a relationship that lasted that long. So seriously, don't take it personally. It's gonna take time to move on, I promise. And for someone who you dated for that long, your first love, your first virginity taker, like everything, you never truly move on from that. There is a 100% possibility that you and him will both end up marrying new people and having kids with new people. That is 100% a possibility. Like, you can't rule that out. However, there is always going to be a place for your first love. I do believe that. Like, even if you guys end on good terms or bad terms, like, the bad terms that you guys ended on cannot erase and replace the time that you spent in love with each other. And that's why I'm so, like, when breakups end on bad terms, I'm just like, what? What are you wasting this negative energy for? Like, life is too short. Life is honestly too short. You had a beautiful thing with somebody for so long, and it broke up just because what? You couldn't see eye to eye anymore? You guys outgrew the relationship? That doesn't mean you have to outgrow each other, because at one point you were perfect for each other. So just because you guys couldn't be in a romantic relationship, why do you have to have a grudge against that person? Why do you, like, life is too short. It takes more energy to hate someone than it does to just be civil. And I really wish people can understand that, but boys are just not as mature as girls. And they just think that it's easier just to leave it on bad terms, even though it's unhealthy for you. You know, it keeps you up at night. And you can get everything done in the world. You can get your dream job, your dream house, your dream car. You can have the perfect family, but at the end of the day, I honestly feel like if you leave something unresolved, as big as your first love or any major relationship, that's one thing that's always going to be unresolved. That's one thing that's always going to keep you up at night, like, oh, I have everything I want, I have everything I've ever worked for, but never really tied the knot with this girl like that. Like, it keeps me up at night, like, not being on proper terms with someone. Like, I just like knowing where I stand with people, and when I don't have that, I personally get kind of freaked out. But what I was saying was, there's always a place in your heart for your first love. So even if you guys do end up marrying different people and having kids with different people, that doesn't mean that y'all's relationship was a waste, or it doesn't mean that you never truly loved him, because you do. There's different phases for different times of your life, and people in those phases sometimes are perfect for you. Like, I believe you have multiple soulmates throughout your life, and each one has its own phase. You have multiple soulmates in life because each one has its own phase. You had a high school soulmate. You might have a college soulmate. Maybe your college soulmate is going to be your graduate school soulmate. Maybe that soulmate's going to be your life soulmate. Like, you don't know unless you live and, like, watch it all unravel in front of you. But let me answer your questions. I definitely feel the introvert thing. My ex was definitely an introvert too. Like, he had some friends, but not many. It was, like, the same people. And he would hang out with me more than he did them. So I definitely, like, girl, you and I are, like, we're the same. You said, I don't plan on reaching out, but what do you think? Do you think he'll come back? Honestly, that's something that I can't tell you. I don't know. Because, honestly, by now, I thought my ex would have come back to me or, like, tried coming back, but he hasn't. There's been times where, like, he's reached back out or, like, we've touched base for a second, but it's never been enough to, like, get back together. But honestly, I don't know. Sometimes, like, when people break up, it's for good. Sometimes when you break up, you have that feeling in your head, like, yes, this is the right decision. And you guys stay broken up. And you meet new people and you fall in love. Sometimes you break up and you're like, shit, I made the wrong decision. And you get back together with the person. Sometimes you break up, you date different people for a while, and then you're like, well, I still love so-and-so, and then you get back together. Like, I can't tell you. I wish I could tell you, because that would make my job a lot easier, and I could probably charge money for that and quit my job. However, I don't know. There's a very good chance he might come back, but I've thought certain people would come back that didn't, but then I've also thought certain people wouldn't come back that did. So it really just depends. Like, I dated a guy my 10th grade year in high school, and I'm a junior in college now. And he recently just texted me and asked if we could meet up. And I was like, it's been almost 5 years. I don't want to meet up with you. Like, exes come back. Some of them don't. Some of them just take a very long time. But all you need to worry about is just focusing on yourself. And it sounds like you do. You said you don't plan on reaching out. You don't think you really want him back anymore, which is really good. It sounds like you're on the right path. You said, how do you think he feels? I think, personally, judging by my experience, he loved you. He still has love for you, but he might no longer be in love with you. If he would be in love with you, I don't feel like you guys would be broken up for this long. He might be in love with you. Maybe he's trying very hard to convince himself that he's not. However, I feel like when someone's in love with you, you know. You don't have to think about it. If you wouldn't have to ask the question, you would know. I know when someone's in love with me. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does happen, I know. I think he definitely has a love for you. Just like I'll always have a love for my first boyfriend. Even though we ended on really bad terms, and I mean, he kind of proved himself to be a piece of shit. I still, like, have a love for him. Just because, not because the person he is today, because I despise that person, but because the person that he was when we were together. He was a very good person for me. We were perfect for each other in the moment. And even though he's no longer who he used to be, I don't love who he is now, but I used to love him. And that's what I mean when your ex has love for you. And it's for the love, it's the love that he had for your relationship and for the person that you were and what you contributed to his life. He has a love for you, even if he's not in love with you. I think he definitely kicked himself for a while for making the decision that he did, but it's normal. A lot of exes do that. They kind of have this, like, oh shit, what did I do moment, and they have to constantly, like, do things to kind of help them see more clearly. Like, with girls, for example, like, when I'm confused about my feelings, I just kind of sit back and, like, look and kind of see what I can make out in front of me. But boys like to do things to make their feelings show. Like, they like to trigger things and test things and, like, just, like, do things to see if a girl likes them. Like, I don't know how to explain it. They just, like, they talk bad about you, or, like, they'll talk to their friends, or, like, y'all's mutual friends, or he'll just do things to see how you react. Like, boys are very determined to figure out how a girl feels about him. So, I definitely think, like I said, he has a love for you. He probably does, I mean, he definitely misses you, but I think he is at the point where he's like, yes, I miss her and I have a love for her, but she doesn't deserve for me to run back to her if I don't know what I want. Because it's very painful to go back and forth to somebody if you don't know what you want. It's very exhausting. So I feel like he's maybe come to this conclusion where he's like, okay, until I figure out what I want, I'm just going to step back. A lot of boys have this mindset, and it's a very mature mindset. A lot of the times, like, younger boys, especially in middle school and, like, early high school, it's like, I don't know what I want, so I'm just gonna, like, F around until I figure it out. But, like, a true man doesn't do that. A true man really steps back, and he doesn't play with anyone's feelings. He doesn't lead anyone on. He just kind of, like, sees how he feels, and if you're what he wants, he'll come back. He needs time to figure it out, though. And either the time is going to make him realize that you're the perfect one for him, or it's going to make him realize that you were just a phase, and that he'll always have a love for you, but it's just not meant to be, which is totally normal. At this age, nothing lasts. Literally, all the couples that were, like, together in high school, the ones that we were like, oh my god, they're going to get married, like, most likely to get married, like, all those superlatives, like, all those couples broke up. All those couples. Like, my friend and her boyfriend, they were together for 7 years. They broke up. My best friend and her boyfriend were together for 4.5 years. They broke up. My friend and his girlfriend were together for 5 years, on and off, I think, and they broke up. Like, nothing lasts. But it's totally fine, because sometimes they reconnect down the road, and it works out, or they find better people. Like, in high school, there was a girl who was in the grade 2 grades above me. I was a sophomore and she was a senior, and she dated this boy named Evan. Yes, Evan. They dated for so long. Like, they dated for years and years, and everybody in the school, I went to a very tiny school, and we were all obsessed with them. Like, they were the cutest couple. Like, everybody knew them. They were, like, in all the yearbook pictures together. Like, they were together for, I think, like, a couple, like, 4 or 5 years. They broke up, like, a couple years ago, and we were all heartbroken, but now Evan is, like, super successful in, like, CrossFit, and I think he has a serious girlfriend now, and then the girl is actually engaged, and she's getting married, and now she's traveling all over the world. Like, and no one ever thought they'd break up. And then this other girl, my friend, I don't want to say her name because it's a very specific name, her and her boyfriend were together for 5 years, and they broke up, and now they're both dating other people, and they've been together for, like, 3 years now, 2-3 years. So things, like, they take turns that you don't expect. Even if you swear you're going to have kids with them one day, or swear you're going to have your dream house, or swear that you're going to get married, like, plans are just contained in their phases, if that makes any sense. Like, every phase of your life, you have a plan. My plan has changed so many times. I was supposed to go to school in California. I was supposed to go to school in Florida. I was supposed to go to school in Paris, hence the Paris. This was actually, like, a gift that I got for being about to move to Paris. Like, my plans change in every phase of life. And at this point, you can't bank on anything. You can't be like, yeah, I'm going to go to that school right there. I think this is actually one of the campus buildings. I'm not sure. I know there's a campus building right next to the Eiffel Tower. It's one, I don't know. It might be. But the thing is, if you bank on one certain plan and one certain phase and one certain person, you're going to get your heart broken. Because you can't plan for the future if your phases change all the time. You know, if I bank on going to this school in Paris, like, yeah, and, like, I don't date anybody here in like, where I live in South Carolina, and I don't look at any jobs here, I don't look at any internships here, and I'm just focused on here, then I'm totally missing out on the phase that I'm living in right now. And if my plan for Paris fails, all of a sudden I'm stuck in South Carolina with no backup plan, no job, no internship, possibly no school, no boyfriend, because I've been shutting down all the cute guys that try to hit on me in bars. Like, you can't live for the future, okay? You can't, because you're always going to get crushed. You're always going to get heartbroken. You just have to live for today. Like, definitely know what you want and know what you're looking for and know your standards, but don't bank on them because they change. People change, phases change, plans change. Don't forget, I spent years putting my ex into this, like, painting him into a perfect picture of what I wanted my life to be like. If that was still my plan today, I'd be screwed because it's like this girl, a couple months ago, she posted on Twitter. It was her and her boyfriend going to prom. Like, they were taking their prom pictures, and all of a sudden he gets down on one knee and asks him to marry her. And they posted on Twitter, and somebody replied, if I would have gotten married to the person I went to prom with, I'd be screwed. And I literally retweeted that. I'm like, yeah, like, plans change. Like, you can't see it right now because you're in the picture and you're in the phase. But once you leave this phase and enter a new one with a new person and a new plan and a new vision, then you're going to be so happy, and then you're going to understand why it worked out the way that it did. It's just hard to see it in the moment. Let me make sure I answer all your questions. I closed out my app. Okay. What do you think? How do you think? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I answered your questions. That's pretty much it. I hope I helped. Just focus on you. You know, if he comes back, cool. Like, you can't stress too much, because if you do, you're going to get your hopes up and you're going to get sad. Either he'll come back or he won't. But either way, you'll be okay. And either way, you're still stuck with you. So make sure you're happy with yourself. Make sure you love yourself. That way, whether or not he comes back, you have, like, that self-respect and that self-power to decide what you want. And don't let him, dictate your feelings. But I feel like you're a pretty strong girl, and I don't think you'd let that happen. So thank you for confiding in me, and let me know if you need any more help, and keep me updated. And always love yourself first. All right, bye.